Okay, here.
It's just the system sounds is still coming through, even though the headphone jack's plugged in.
Got it. Okay.
You guys want to go?
We're going to one more segment. It's okay. Okay. Now we're actually broadcasting.
Yeah, we are.
Not commercials, us.
Well, right now it's commercials.
Okay.
So you're seeing video.
So how does she mute this?
Oh, it's yours that wasn't muted.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that kind of the same mute button for the broadcast.
So I have to mute mine too, right?
No, yours has to be on. Your
Okay.
muting is down for the show.
Gotcha.
I think where most people go wrong with Golakowski is they don't understand that he's using projections.
Okay. So we are on right now. Does that,
That's right.
so my mic is on, not the commercial.
And the other thing that they don't understand is that
Okay.
he's giving a fact based on how much they thought they would invest in Alaska.
And what would be the new address to put on my Facebook page?
Oil and all kinds of things. That is a scenario. It's not a fact.
Say embed, or you're gonna have a little
I mean,
button.
Right. It's
Very
just
bottom
it's
right
so
corner.
Got it.
ingenuous. to say that.
Ah.
But what I have always thought was the most powerful number to try and...
Yeah, but that's okay. I can put it on my Facebook page, right? So what would I do? Event page, YouTube page, or video embed?
We didn't have a decline. We're actually getting more money to treasury.
Let me see a video embed to see what that looks like.
And why don't we have good numbers on jobs, by the way? Or do we?
Okay.
We have good numbers on jobs for this year over last year?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Don't you think that's, I mean, that's a huge failure on our side?
Yeah, yeah. Anecdotally, you know, all these contracts.
Well, that's what people want to know. So can we get that, or is it too late? I mean, this is
not working now.
Yeah, hers won't mute.
We could
Yeah,
come out and
here,
say,
here.
No,
we got rid of the decline.
Oh, it is
We've got
muting?
more
Yeah,
jobs in
it's
the
muting,
industry
but
than we've ever had. We've
So
got
what-
more
I think that
drilling
now
rigs on the North Slope
not
than we've
working
ever
because
Glenn, you have way too much headroom when you're sitting down. You need to monitor that.
had.
I think that
What am I hearing?
now
Okay, there we go.
fix it.
There we go. Stand by.
We'll get you figured out.
Get yourself framed up there, Bonnie.
Yeah, this isn't working.
All right, welcome back. 747. Rick Rogers with the Resource Development Council is here in the studio with us. Our number 569-1080, talking about Proposition 1.
When I go out and debate with other people, there are so many numbers that are thrown out, and it gets very confusing. I think there's only a few things that sort of give me comfort that no on one is the right way to go. But the other side, Volkowski was in studio with us, and was he on the phone? He was on the phone.
He was on the phone.
Yeah, he was on the phone. And he gave a projection from 2007 based on high investment. Didn't tell the audience that it was high investment. The decline in the pipeline probably 7 years later. That anybody else would there in the north. How many jobs are there in industry? How many drilling rigs do we have on the north? Kind of thing. Those are facts. Not things that people are guessing at, you know, based on an unlimited number of variables. What's the most important fact for you? What do you want to let people know the most as they try and decide whether to vote no or yes?
Probably that we've already seen $10 billion of new investment announcements since SB 21 was passed. We've seen increased drilling rigs. We get reports from support contractors that they're busier than they've been in years. And you know, projections, I mean, it's hard to get away from them because this is a net profits tax, and it requires modeling. I mean, the legislature went through endless models during the 3 years that they delivered.
Probably it's
and what assumptions you make for the future, you know, makes a big difference on what answers you get.
Let me ask you this. Rick Rogers is in with us, Resource Development Council. They handle all the different resource areas of the state, fishing, mining, timber, in addition to oil and gas, and tourism. Here's a question. Were the numbers right from last year? You say that we need to use models. Were any of the projections right from last year with no decline in the pipe this year?
Last year, the state's numbers were too conservative. They thought we'd have continued decline, and we actually leveled out.
Just say it. They were wrong.
They were wrong.
Okay, they were wrong. So that just the projections from last year were wrong. People keep using these things as facts.
They were also wrong when ACES passed. They thought right now we'd be at about 700-some thousand barrels per day of production. Guess what? We're just hovering above 500,000.
Wow.
So we've dropped 200,000 barrels a day from what the proponents of ACES thought would happen when that bill passed.
Here is one of the biggest arguments from the other side. You respond to my view of this. They say the oil companies are spending $12 million to try and convince us that this tax is a good deal. And here's the way I would, and you tell me whether this is fair. They're spending $10 billion with new projects, and they're spending $12 million to let us know about it. Is that fair?
That is fair. They're also spending a lot of money to just inform Alaskans about the basic structure of our economy. The House majority does a poll every year, and they found that 20-some% of Alaskans were aware that 90% of our state revenues come from oil and gas.
Oh my gosh.
I thought everybody knew that. And so there's just a lot of informing. People have to understand. It's a very complicated issue, and it's very difficult to make public policy this way, really, on a yes-no vote. I was out on the street Friday evening waving signs for the no, because I really support no on one. And I was thinking to myself, this is a totally insane way to set tax
like
policy.
To have cheerleaders go out and try and convince, hey, saved 20, 30,000 jobs in the state of Alaska. When you're right, most of this though gets demagogued. One last question, and I'll turn it over to everybody else. And Rick Rogers is in with our RDC, Resource Development Council. Just you guys shepherd the state of Alaska to prosperity. That's your job. That's fair?
Yeah, that's what we aim to do.
Okay, one last thing. Based on projections, which we now know, we're right. They projected we'd have 5 or 6% less oil this year and next year and the year after and the year after. But based on projections, under ACES, we would have had 5 or 6% less oil in the pipeline. This year we had level, no decline in the pipeline.
That's right.
Did we get more tax revenue under Senate Bill 21, or did we get less?
We got more. I think the final number was 140 million more.
And the reason for that is?
We had more production.
I don't think people understood what you just said. Hey, could you just walk people through? Because I read this on every single blog, and I respond the same way, and every single time they come back and say, you must be crazy. We don't have more revenue under Senate Bill 21. We have less. Every single time.
Look, one of the biggest falsehoods, we had about a $2 billion drop in revenue from FY 12 to 13. That was before SB 21 ever was enacted. Because of increased cost and lower oil price. It's a net profits tax, so the profitability went down, the state share went down.
Can it partially be because of ACES, because they had such large write-offs for searching for oil, about $1 billion a year giveaway?
Well, that's one thing that economist Roger Marks makes a good point on, is ACES has a lot of exposure to the state at lower prices. You get down to $85 per barrel. You have all these credits under ACES that are based on spending. They're not based on production. Under SB 21, the credits are based on production. And so you can get a scenario at $85 where a lot of credits are going out the door, much less revenue is coming in the door, and it's a huge cash flow exposure to Alaska.
So what does ACES do at $8 a barrel, which we've seen in the state? Is it even worse?
Nobody would produce oil at $8 a barrel. It has to be about 40 or 45.
I think the tax tariff is more than 8. So if it's at $8, we're all in trouble.
Well, it was. You remember that back in the 90s.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we got more money going into the Treasury now than what was projected last year under.
We also get more royalty. It's important to remember that the permanent fund, the state's our share. You hear people talking about our share,
it's our oil. So leave it in the ground.
It's a royalty.
That's my addition to that, by the way. It's our oil, so leave it in the ground. Because honestly, everybody who keeps saying it's our oil, they don't have a drilling rig. They don't have any permits. They have
That's
no way to go get the oil. It's our oil.
But
Leave it in the
my
ground.
point is the royalty share is directly linked to production. It's a straight ratio. If you produce 8 barrels, the royalty share to the state is a barrel. And so that part of that goes into the permanent fund, the rest of it goes into the treasury. And so forgetting about taxes, as Alaskans, for our share, for our PFD share, we want more production because that's where the royalty comes from.
This goes to the PFD point that a lot of people say we're going to lose the PFD if we go to Senate Bill 21. Marks, is that his name? Who did the
Roger Marks?
Yeah.
Yes.
Roger Marks. And you were suggesting people go out and take a look. I think this is his first point.
Yeah, in Sunday's Alaska Dispatch, Roger Marks, he's a economist, petroleum economist, has spent his whole career working for the state, looking out for the state's interest. And he's the kind of guy, he's not afraid to take a controversial position or one that may not be in favor. But he's clearly very articulate, and he goes through his article on a lot of myth busting. I encourage folks to take a look at that.
Well, Rick, it's very confusing. The case against Prop 1 is so convincing. And I know you're not a mind reader, but I just wonder what the opposition's really about.
What are their motives?
I don't know. You know, I'm not one to question people's motives. I hope that their motives are like mine, that they care about the best interest of the future of Alaska, and they just have a much different view of reality than I do.
Well, you've got more tax money coming in. You've got more oil going through the pipeline. What? I just don't see their side. I can't make sense of it.
I can't either.
Well, I tell you what they say is, if we only would have kept ACES in place for a few more years, you would have seen the turnaround.
Yeah, but like Chris Tech was in the
Isn't
other
that
day.
a great deal of belief, by the way? I mean, that is faith. That is something we do not see. We have no evidence of whatsoever, but they have faith that something was going to turn around this constant decline we saw.
Well, that's actually contrary to in the legislature when everyone pretty much agrees that ACES needed to be fixed. So there wasn't anybody in the room that said ACES was the way to go. So that's
because progressivity. It wasn't designed for the value of the barrel of oil where it is.
Right.
Where they knew it wasn't going to be competitive with anybody else.
That's right.
Well, when Chris Tech was in the other day, he made the comment that in order to have more production, you have to have exploration. But you're saying in order to have more money, you have to have production, which is what SB 21 does, correct?
That's right. And SB 21 encourages exploration as well. You know, we have to have both.
Right.
But you know, we have at least 5 billion barrels of remaining oil in the legacy fields that we know is there, and we need to incentivize producing every last drop that we can of that.
How do you think this vote's going to go? Have you seen any polling?
I think it's going to be close, and I think
Really?
I think we can. I haven't seen polling directly, but I'm worried about this, and I don't think people should be complacent. I want people to get out and vote, and you can vote now. You can vote early. It's a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
If
You can't vote often, though. You can only vote early.
That's right.
Just
And if you agree with what you're hearing here from the no camp and you don't vote, it doesn't matter what you think. Your opinion does not count.
That's right. That's right. Rick Rogers, Resource Development Council. Good seeing you.
Good to see you.
Thanks for coming in. All right, 7:58 is the time. Fagan, Bonnie, Beagle, stay with us.
Can you just take this passcode off?
Give me this.
Because we would have had it, but the passcode was on.
4629.
What happens if you get found, just kind of twist that.
We
Okay.
need those jobs numbers.
Yeah,
4629.
I'll inquire to see.
I mean, I don't care if somebody
I haven't
has to
seen
call
it.
up every single business in the whole
Are you
state
seeing
of
this?
Alaska. We need jobs
Is everything
numbers.
working?
What about labor
What's that?
study tracks and stuff,
Well,
right?
look, I'm
It's
not
a wide
expecting
shot.
the government.
You're way delayed.
I think we should have figured this out. This is that important of a number.
Yeah.
Because if we've got more production, we've got
Yeah.
more money in the treasury, and we have more jobs, and we can dismiss all three of their primary arguments, how can we not win? We've got to have those numbers. Those numbers are crucial. And I know that we're really late in the game, and maybe it's too late to get them, but I still think, look, if you're going to spend money doing something,
Okay.
it's a thing to do. You know,
Gotcha.
hey, just let everybody know, look, we need your
Okay.
We want to know how many
Okay.
people you hire this year.
Okay.
Whole industry. versus
And
last
they may
year.
be working on that, but I haven't heard it.
Well, I
that's a
know
really
that
good point.
they printed something in the News Miner, and they're very for the opening line from the reporter.
We should have
was,
another
somebody
guest out
sketched
there.
some numbers out on a napkin,
Who is it?
Andrew Jensen.
right? And that's the best we could do. That's the best we could do, honestly. We haven't done everything.
How many
Right.
headphones actually
No,
have
good
available?
point. I'll
You
chase
still
that
have
down.
4, right?
Yes, there's one.
All right.
All right.
There's one empty.
I did not hear the debate. I'm going to go to the.
It's online. You can watch it.
You guys have got to get out the message that they've spent $10 billion supporting SB 21, and they're spending
No guest.
$1
Like
million
the
dollars.
extender.
That is
Actually,
not
this will work.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. See you guys.
Oh shoot! No,
Oh, apparently our guest stood us up. Hey, come on.
because I'm using my spare on that thing. Oh, where's yours, Dan?
Right here. Into mine.
Your adapter part. Did you use theirs?
Oh, there we go. He may be trying to call in.
Okay, let me check the phone. I don't know if this will reach, but that'll move a little bit.
Okay.
You want this plugged in?
Yeah, she needs it.
So you got your thing muted now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if you do get sound, it's just because this is a little loose because
Okay.
of the extra padding.
Okay.
Let me see your shot. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, I'd tilt down a little bit. It's a little too much headroom. Okay, that looks pretty good there. That's good.
Alright, cool, yeah. It is quite delayed because I'm seeing myself in there.
Oh, yeah, it's way delayed.
Just on YouTube.
Yeah. How many viewers we got?
Should say on you.
Oh, no, well,
One.
oh, 2 viewers. We got 2.
And that's probably me and you.
Okay. Well, nobody knows how to get it.
Right.
So, once I put it out, it'll be all right. Good morning.
Right now, if they went to Dan Fagan on YouTube,
Yeah.
looked up your site, they
Yeah.
could click on the live.
Gotcha.
But we need to get you a new graphic to put up there.
Yeah.
Fagan Beagle Money Show.
Yeah, definitely.
Andy. Okay, yeah, Andy. Tell me about the call.
Oh, good. We do have our guest. Excellent.
Okay, all right, that's Andy. Jim.
Attention homeowners. I'm Jay Farner, president of Windy Loans. We've told you about HARP in the past. There are so many more of you who could be saving hundreds of dollars every month on your mortgage.
Yeah. Politics is the only place where a historical guess is considered a relevant fact.
What's that?
I'm just trying to figure out that camera that we're shooting, yes.
This is a fact. Yeah, it's a fact that we guess based on some assumptions.
Oh, well, I'm not going to use it for. Why? What was your point on that?
Most people wouldn't know how
Oh, yeah.
disingenuous
No.
that point is.
I would know. I would have.
Yeah, I won't use it.
Oh, okay.
It makes it seem like it was a promise. or something like that.
Right.
Straight on with the microphone.
Yeah, no, I won't go to it.
Only on garbage can.
What am I hearing? Is that you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
What are you trying to find that?
Treadwell.
Yeah, I don't really think he said that.
I guarantee he did.
Now, here will be an interesting thing. If he didn't say it,
I will go.
no. Well, you should know.
Just shuttle to
because
the
a lot
woman.
of times we
That's
do.
why I'm trying to find
We
it.
do
Just shuttle
hear
to the
things
woman.
that don't.
Can't you
I'm
shuttle?
trying to.
Can you see it as it shuttles?
So
Oh, go off.
it's around. It was after the hour.
I'm fine.
Okay, are we
It's in the
broadcasting
second
now?
hour.
We are now video streaming. No one knows how to get there though,
Okay.
but we will be able to use the tape. So if this is a good segment, I will make it a video. Yeah, it's toward the end when they do the questions, right?
Yeah, I'm at 38.
KTVA 11 News
No, it's much longer than that.
Alaska
It's in the
Dispatch.
58, 59.
I thought,
Well, yeah, but the audience is just about to come up. At 38 minutes left.
Oh yeah, okay, that's what you mean. Yeah.
Was the easiest answer. Given the insolvency
when they
that the federal
when they
government's
told
at right now.
Sullivan it was his
Sioux villages
question to
over
Treadwell,
And of course, those here who are
Yeah,
breathing.
he was really struggling.
Okay,
So you oppose the mandatory coverage on pre-existing.
What I said is
Yeah, the pre-existing
required
conditions.
health insurance
That was another leftist one.
with regard to this race. And, looking at the longer term, I think it's a state issue with regard to what states can.
Paul Rove is a major donor through crop.
Are run both by the Congress and the states.
So you watched the first hour?
Is very simply this. Let's go back to the
That's when
civics
she asked
books.
the question.
So what have you watched so far? Because I'm going to go where you haven't
I'm
been.
at 35 minutes left.
Left. So you watched up to that point.
Yes.
Dan's going to go where no Bonnie has gone before.
Yeah.
Hi, but with mounting federal deficit,
Things up, and yet you're holding hands with very people that are
Out of our private sector.
Well, he is sweating like a pig.
it's not going to happen. But that's really the only way we're going to get rid of that is to create opportunity. It's not going to be by more.
20 years to help that we can provide this nation and that we are not Seward's folly.
Okay, Mr. Miller.
Well, John, with your vote, we fully expect to shock the world again and win this primary.
It's like a Marine Recon Battalion. Takes a lot of money.
My kids love to have it for others, but it's our choice.
But tort reform.
Wrap it up between you and Senator Mark Begich in this election. That agreement would.
Large part of that outside spending is coming from.
Six minutes past 8 o'clock. Fagan, Beagle, and Bonnie in the morning. Welcome to the broadcast. Over at Payless Car Sales, Ali Sheik is the guy to go see. He can hook you up, get you in a vehicle that is reliable, dependable, and fancy to look at. Ali Sheik has a great eye when it comes to quality used cars. He knows which ones are the good ones, which ones are the not so good ones. And he has a gigantic lot there for you to choose from. And Ali Sheik at Payless Car Sales is now the second largest used car dealership in South Central, and the reason is that he knows how to pick out the winners. And he's going to give you a good deal for the vehicle that he puts you in. You're going to be very satisfied. You look at his ratings online, stellar. No one's even close. Payless Car Sales, it's an entry-level luxury used car dealership, and Ali Sheik is the reason why. Go see our friend Ali Sheik over at Payless Car Sales, 919 East 5th Avenue. Tell him Dan and Glenn sent you, and he will hook you up. All right, our number, 569-1080, 569-1080. That's the number if you'd like to join us. Also out in the Valley, 357-5868. We have Andrew Jensen with the Alaska Journal of Commerce. How are you, Andrew? Good morning. Glad you were able to join us this morning. I thought you really hit it out of the park in your column. What was it, last week, Thursday or Friday, maybe Wednesday, regarding Prop 2. Prop 1, sorry. I always call it Prop 2. Just kind of give us a recap for those who didn't get to read your column. What was the basic gist of what you were trying to say? Yeah. Right. Well, Andrew, you may not say this, but I will. As I read your exposing Mr. Wilikowski's deceptive ways, it was pretty obvious to me that Mr. Wilikowski was intending to deceive. I know you may not say that, you might not go that far, but the facts that he intentionally left out were so glaring. I don't see how you can see it any other way. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. That is, you really nailed him on this. I really appreciate your work on this. Andrew Jensen is our guest. He is you managing editor or managing editor of the Alaska Journal of Commerce. Great publication. If you'd like to talk to Andrew, you can dial in at 569-1080 in Anchorage, 569-1080. Also out in the Valley, 357-5868. Let's go to Mark. Mark, you're on with Andrew Jensen. Are you there, Mark?
Marty.
Marty, sorry. Marty, you there? Hello, Marty. No, no, Marty. Okay, Glenn, you had a question.
Yeah, I got a question that a lot of people look at very complicated things in sort of a simplistic way, and that's just human nature because we're not experts in all this stuff. But to you, what's the most convincing evidence on either side? If you could walk us through a vote yes on one and a vote no on one, and how you would address each one of those things.
Wow.
Is that the reason why we had more oil, or we lost the decline? That's the reason. That one thing. More rigs, we got more oil.
Yeah, let me take Marty's call. He's been on hold. Marty, you're on with Andrew Jensen. Sure. Thank you. Andrew, we're going to take a quick break. We want to continue with our discussion, though. If you can stay with us one more segment. You're listening to Fagan, Bonnie, and Beagle. We'll be right back after this.
I wasn't here. I wasn't seeing your audio that
time. Did we forget the break?
Yes. I'm sorry.
That's right. What am I hearing? Wait a minute.
Your audio.
Okay, I don't know what's changed. Cue it up to the part. Okay.
It was at 3:06 when it started.
Can you cue it?
Okay, now I'm seeing it.
Oh, that's it. All right. You do have it? You do have audio?
Well, now I see it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, but that's all right. You got audio. So did you get the answer?
I don't know. It's at 3:06.
So it's a short.
No, it wasn't very short.
I can't specifically remember why Governor Knowles dropped that last suit. I will say this on SB 21.
That's Katie John.
I cannot take a position on it as your lieutenant governor.
Yeah, well, you wasted all my time for that. He can't take a position. He's a lieutenant governor.
Oh, why didn't we know that before?
Everybody knew that. Hey, Mom, are you getting audio? Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. All right, we're just trying out a new technology. Okay. All right, well, thanks, Mom. Bye. Yeah, he can't take a position.
Oh.
My mom says the audio is coming and going.
Then why were we surprised?
$8:17 is the time. Fagan, Bonnie, and Beagle is the broadcast you're listening to. I'm talking to Andrew Jensen, who is the managing editor of the Alaska Journal of Commerce. He did an amazing job exposing the wily ways of Mr. Bill Wielechowski and how that the facts that Mr. Wielechowski presents are half-truths at best, deceptive at worst. Andrew, how do you think this Prop 1 vote's going to go? What was the final vote on that? Do you remember? Yeah. No. Well, Andrew, let me. Yeah. Here's what I don't understand. When I read your column, and it was so well done, and it's so pinpoint, accurately exposed Mr. Wilikowski for his deceptive ways. Why haven't journalists working for Channel 2, Channel 11, the Anchorage Daily News, or whatever it's called now, why haven't they done what you did, which is fact check these guys? Because their facts are so different than everyone else's. Any reporter worth his salt would be able to look at that and go, no, wait a minute, what's the real picture here? Why do you think the media gives Wilikowski and Guerra and French and all these guys a complete pass with their deception? Right. Yeah. But Andrew, they can read your Compass piece or your editorial or your article, and they could at least report what you've clearly uncovered. What's the excuse for that? Yeah, I suspect I know. Yeah, right. Yep, sure. Yeah, right. Sure.
talking with Andrew Jensen, Managing Editor, Alaska Journal of Commerce. 569-1080 and 357-5868 is are the numbers here. Andrew, I asked a question, and I asked it specifically because I'm always looking to understand what goes on in the mind of people who disagree with me. And Les Guerra and people like him will always say, well, look, you're entitled to your own opinion. You're not entitled to your own set of facts. And what I'm lost on here, and I know I'm asking you to step into somebody else's shoes, so this is kind of this is a test for you. What, if you're on the other side, would you consider to be the most convincing evidence that we have to get rid of Senate Bill 21 and we've got to go back to ACEs? What's the most convincing evidence for somebody on the other side? Okay, well, walk us through, because we're not talking about going back to 2006 or 2007 and putting in Senate Bill 21.
We lose him?
First.
Yeah, I think we lost him.
Oh, we lost him?
Yeah.
Because I agree with and I think that was a great answer, and I think it's the right answer, is people are saying, well, if we went back to 2006 and put in Senate Bill 21 at that time, we would have ended up with less revenue. We're not going back to 2006. We're trying to talk about it now. We're not going to see $146 a barrel oil. There has been an oil revolution which has bypassed Alaska. And we're talking about trying to put this in now. We're trying to figure out how do we compete now. I take this position, and I realize a lot of people in the oil industry are probably very uncomfortable with me and what I'm about to say. I believe ACEs and Senate Bill 21 work hand in glove. We got more money. We didn't get the investment, but we got a lot more money under ACEs.
We lost all that investment, all those jobs.
We lost all that investment now, but we got exploration out of it. So I'm trying to make the best out of the world that we have today. We got a lot of exploration out of it. Let's produce oil. Let's produce it now at this $1 per barrel, right? Let's take the best that we can out of ACEs, which was all the exploration we got, and we got a whole bunch more money in the Treasury. We can weather this storm, but if we don't turn around the production view, we will not weather the storm. There is no chance for Alaska.
I don't think money in the Treasury is a plus, because it gives them more of an appetite to spend.
Yes. People get greedy when they have other people's money, and that's a very dangerous thing. I totally agree with that.
So do you think that legislation added to SB 21 would appease the vote yes people for more exploration incentives?
Legislation, what do you mean by that?
Like an additional legislation
if we change Senate Bill 21, because there already are, look, there are very generous credits, just not as generous.
Incentives for exploration.
This is one of the most telling things, by the way, that somebody said, I don't remember which person it was, I think it was Chris Tuck, he was just in here, he said, we have the most generous exploration credits in the world. Question for people who are a yes on one versus me no on one. If he's right, and I think he is, we had the most generous exploration credits in the world, and that turns into production. Why don't we see the production? Why didn't we see under the most generous exploration credits, as Chris Tuck said himself? He admits we went down 5 and 6 and 7 and 8% every single year. Exploration doesn't mean production. I want to take the best of ACEs. We got exploration out of it. We got more money in the Treasury, and I want to move forward. And I want to move forward with production.
But I have a feeling that they still wouldn't be happy.
No, I think that they would. Here's my view, Bonnie, is a lot of people know that we have to have a win-win scenario with the oil industry. Not everybody. There's a certain number of people who all they want to do is just ruin the oil industry, take everything they have, show them for the awful people that they are across the world. I accept that there's a good 20 to 25% of Alaskans who believe that. But I think there are 20 to 25% of Alaskans who do not believe that, and who do believe that if this is a good structure and we can get more production out of it, and we're getting more production and more investment, that this is where we should stay.
8:29 is the time. Fagan, Beagle, and Bonnie. Stay with us.
Okay, he just called back.
My mom says she cannot hear the caller.
Okay, so I can see what's happening I think we were just picking up your mic. Did you switch it to audio?
I turned down. See, if there's a control room thing. There's a control room thing here where you can play with everybody's audio. Yeah.
So, go to settings. No, you leave yours on.
Right. It is on, isn't it?
Yeah, go to settings.
Here?
Nope.
Or here?
There you go.
Okay.
Now, audio. So, default microphone, you change it to USB.
Oh, that's what you meant. Okay.
Yeah, we were only picking up what was happening
That's
here.
why.
City officials in Bethel say they've opened an investigation into a brutality complaint against one of the city's police officers. That story from Greg Lemfair.
Linda Green reported to police that she saw an officer repeatedly throw a man to the ground on July 12th. She took her account to the press after she says city officials did nothing to investigate the incident. Officials say they are investigating. A report by the officer says the man was intoxicated and the officer feared he was armed.
The Coast Guard and Forestry Service found a boater who disappeared near Surge Bay alive. 21-year-old Gus McConnell was found lying on some rocks on a nearby island. New data from the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis finds that last year, Alaska residents spent more than $3,800 in restaurants per individual, or more than $15,000 for a family of 4. That's your Hot Talk News Update.
For today, mostly cloudy with a passing shower or two, high 70. Tonight, partly cloudy with some showers, low 53. Tuesday, mostly cloudy with showers, high 66. Tuesday night, low 54. Wednesday, cloudy with possible showers, high 62. And for your Thursday, high 62. Hot Talk, breaking news, and the latest weather. KOAN 95.5 FM and 1080 AM.
Chris here along with my buddy Brock. That's right. We're here to tell you to tune into The Beer Show every Saturday at 5 p.m. on 95.5 and 1080 KOAN. The Beer Show is brought to you by Brown Jug Alaska, Eagle River Ale House, Great Artisan Beverages, and the Odom Corporation. Please drink responsibly.
A better life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
Adding just 1 tablespoon of flaxseed to your diet every day is a natural way to boost your health. And who doesn't want that? I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN's chief medical correspondent. You know, flaxseed has been around for centuries, and it's time for you to put it on your list of power foods. Here's why. It's high in omega-3 fatty acids, which is great for the heart. It can aid in lowering the bad levels of cholesterol, which can be hard to do. Studies also suggest that flaxseed may even protect you against cancer, thanks to its antioxidant properties. Now, you can purchase flaxseed whole or already ground up. I can tell you, for a lot of people, whole flaxseed is often hard for the body to digest. So already ground may be your best bet. Remember now, a tablespoon a day is all you need. A pretty easy amount to consume. Mix it with water or juice, or do it like me. Add it to your yogurt or oatmeal. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
Today is the day you switch to Rite Aid for one simple reason. Wellness Plus, the card that gives you credits you can use like cash. Plus, discounts that only members get. Plus, 20% off almost the entire store. Plus, that's for a whole year. Plus, rewards that start today and pile on every time you shop. So, if you're tired of missing out on all the pluses only Rite Aid delivers, visit RiteAidWellness.com to sign up and learn more today about Wellness Plus. Rite Aid. With us, it's personal.
Nasacort Allergy 24-Hour. The first 24-hour prescription-strength nasal allergy spray available over the counter has a few facts for allergy sufferers. Fact 1. Your symptoms aren't caused by allergens. They're caused by your body's chemical responses to them. Fact 2. Antihistamines target only one chemical response. And fact 3. Nasacort stops more to relieve your worst nasal allergy symptoms, even congestion. You've got the facts. Now get relief with Nasacort. It stops more of what makes you miserable. Used as directed.
Did you know that one of the state's premier medical facilities is located right in the heart of South Anchorage? Thanks to the Alaska Neurology Center, there's no need to leave Alaska anymore when it comes to treating the nervous system. You'll receive the best care at the Alaska Neurology Center for epilepsy, cerebral palsy, brain injuries, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, Huntington's disease, multiple sclerosis, speech disorders, and they offer pain management as well. And if you're having trouble sleeping at night, the Alaska Neurology Center has the best sleep disorder experts in the state. They also have the most sophisticated MRI imaging technology in Alaska. If you need relief from stress or from migraines, relax in their luxurious spa. At the Alaska Neurology Center, their massage therapists are amazing, and they offer hydrotherapy, infrared sauna, hot and cold therapy, and shiatsu massage. And their medical spa also offers facials and waxing. The Alaska Neurology Center, located on Diamond and Old Seward.
8 stars of gold on a field of blue. Alaska's flag, may it mean to you.
I'm an Alaskan, and I'm really tired of Mark Begich and Meade Treadwell attacking Dan Sullivan. Treadwell supported Democrats in the past, but now he's acting like Begich and making ridiculous attacks he knows aren't true. Sullivan stood up to Obama as Alaska's Attorney General, fought for access to our fish and game, and brought new oil and gas jobs to Alaska. Dan is as Alaskan as it gets. My name is Athena Fulton, and I really believe that Dan Sullivan is the only candidate who can beat Mark Begich. And that would be good for Alaska.
Alaska's Energy, America's Values, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. EnergyandValues.com.
It'll be home to 942 bursts of laughter, a 16-pound blackened turkey dinner, and the loudest burp on record. It will see its fair share of broken windows, broken bones, broken hearts. But first, you have to find it. Start your home search at Zillow.com or on our family of apps. You can view millions of photos, browse historical pricing data, and even sign up for alerts when new homes hit the market. Zillow. Find your way home.
Hot Talk KOAN, man. You're on with Fagan and Beagle. 1080KOAN.com.
You're on with Fagan and Beagle in the morning on the Talk of the Valley, KVNT 92.5 FM, 1020 AM.
The young boy, put away those.
All right, 8:36 is the time. Dan Fagan, Glenn Beagle, Bonnie Cameron. You know, there's an exercise that they do in law school. Not that I've been, but this is what I hear. You tell a story in the classroom. Let's say there's 30 kids, students, and you start with one person and you tell, here's what I saw. Gunman walks into a bank, blah blah blah, and you tell the story. And then that person tells it to another person. That person tells it to another person. And by the time you get to the last person in the class, the story is completely and totally different. And that's just humankind, right? Then when you add into the fact the fervent, rabid affection that we have for candidates, it adjusts our hearing even more, right?
Right. Because
we hear what we want to hear. We want to hear what we want to hear. And so a lot of us, when we go to debates, now earlier this morning, and I just have so few talents and skills and abilities in life. But there's one thing I am dead good at. When something sounds wrong, it's usually wrong. And I'm never wrong about that. When someone says something on this show, it sounds like there's no way that's true. Whenever I say that, 100% of the time, it's never true. Now, that's the only skill I have. But when you said earlier today that Meade Treadwell last night at the debate said he was not going to take a position on Prop 1, immediately, what did I say, Glenn? There's no way that's true.
There's no way that's true.
Right.
Well, he did actually say.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, so this is what he said. He said, I will not take a position on SB 21 as your lieutenant governor.
He said, as your lieutenant governor.
I did not hear the as your lieutenant governor.
I cannot take a position on SB 21 or on Prop 1 because he's the head. Yes. He's the head of the Division of Elections.
Yes.
And in that capacity, he's not supposed to take an official position.
Yes.
On a ballot initiative.
So I was wrong, Meade Treadwell, and then he did follow it up with, but I have been the most advocating the most for some kind of tax reform, and he did actually follow it up with a pro-no stance.
Right. Whereas Joe, who says, I hate the big three, I like the little guys, but the little guys tell me it's okay, so therefore I'll vote for it. That's basically what he says.
He's voting no on it.
Yeah, voting against Prop 1. But it's a good lesson in when you want to hear something.
Selective hearing.
Selective hearing.
Yes. I mean, he did say that, but then he followed it up with, as your lieutenant governor.
But no, everyone in the audience who wasn't
Yeah.
drooling at the idea of Joe Miller winning the primary heard it correctly.
Yes. Good job, Meade. Way to go.
Is this a benefit and advantage, by the way, or a hindrance when we run into the general for Meade?
In what way?
Well, if he can't take positions on proposition issues.
Well, there'll only be the marijuana one left. I guess what are the props that are running the general?
Minimum wage.
Yeah, but that's gonna pass by 60%.
I agree.
Do you think it will?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, remember,
Alaska
everybody's
is
for small business.
Ugh.
I want everybody to know that. I started calling people out, by the way, online about the minimum wage, which is really against small business. Basically, what you're saying is, I don't care how much value a person adds to a company, and I don't care whether or not you can employ more or less. My job is not to make it easy for you, small business. I'm voting for this minimum wage thing.
Well, it's a low information voter. You don't understand economics, and all you knew is you see some guy making $8 an hour, and you think, well, what's it going to hurt to pay him $9? Mm-hmm. The average voter, or 10, they have no idea.
Yeah, but I just want people to know, if you vote for this, you're not for small business, and I don't ever want to hear you say, I'm for small business, and I'm voting yes on this proposition. That's all. I mean, that's fine. I just stop claiming you're for something. It's like people claim they're for Pebble Mine, or they're for mining, but say, I don't want Pebble Mine to have a public process that is based on the law and based on science. You can't be for mining if you're not for the largest undiscovered mine, unproduced mine in the world,
but
not
you would
having a public
acknowledge
process.
that the vast majority of people who support increasing minimum wage, they don't understand the impact it'll have on small business.
Well,
right?
I don't know. If you look across the country, increasing the minimum wage, because as you increase the minimum wage, you essentially change the rules for how a system works. It doesn't have the dramatically negative impacts. It certainly it has positive impacts for people who are getting the wages. What it does not have a positive impact for is two groups. Small business people who find it harder to employ people, especially in the age of Obama. The idea that your child's going to get a full-time job here is pretty limited, almost non-existent. So small businesses, it hurts. Number two, it hurts the middle class. Who's the only group of people who have enough money to pay for a $6 hamburger, because it's got to go from $4 to $6 if you increase the minimum wage by 20 or 25%?
Well, it hurts the minimum wage employee because there's fewer jobs.
A little bit. And this is the part where I don't like conservatives coming out. This is where conservatives lose most people. If you look across the country and say, raising the minimum wage will dramatically reduce the number of jobs. It doesn't dramatically reduce the number of jobs. It reduces them by somewhere between 2 and 5%. Now, those 2 and 5% are real kids, real people looking for real jobs. It just makes doing business a lot harder and makes your products a lot more expensive. That's the experience as I look out, and
It doesn't seem right to me that would only be the.
You should go do some research on this, because a lot of people take minimum wage as this is a huge deal. It's really going to dramatically change everything. I think it could dramatically change some things in Alaska more than other places, and this is the part where I hope Alaskan small businesses and Alaskan employers come and make their case. Because I used to work in the fishing industry. I worked there for 5 years, 5 summers, and then 4 summers in 1 year. And I happen to know for a fact that if you force somebody in a cannery to be paid $9.75 an hour, they're right on the line of being able to employ people and not being able to employ people based on what fish costs everywhere else around the world. I do think you could, in certain industries, see fairly dramatic impacts. And so I hope those small businesses make their case that this really is dramatically going to impact these industries here in the state of Alaska more than it will other places. But as I go out and look at the research, raising the minimum wage makes small business harder. It makes people get paid what they're not worth, which that's wrong. That's a bad idea. It's bad economics. It's dumb. And it dramatically can increase costs on middle class people. You want to go to McDonald's and you want your person who's serving you to be paid $10 an hour? Well, look, you just got to pay $6 or $7 for a hamburger. That's just what has to happen, because McDonald's can't absorb that cost without transferring it to you. And so if you frequent a lot of businesses which use minimum wage labor or even close to that, anyway,
844.
Businesses which use minimum wage labor or even close to that, anyway,
844.
The bipartisan Native corporations, 10,000 Alaskans, Republicans, Democrats, and Independents have joined in opposing Measure 1 because it threatens our economy. Alaskans like Bruce Gabriel, an electrical contractor.
Really, it's about jobs. Jobs for me, jobs for my neighbors, jobs for my family, and jobs for my kids.
For mother of four, Camille Rezit.
It's about more state revenue for schools, public safety, and roads.
Small businessman Ron Hyde sees the impact.
It's about new investment in Alaska, $10 billion of it. Oil tax reform in Alaska is already working. We need to vote no.
The old tax structure failed. We need to vote no on August 19th, says Julie Papasavas.
And give oil tax reform a chance.
Paid for by Vote No on 1, Anchorage, Alaska 99509. Leslie Ajukovich, Bob Berto, Rick Meister, Linda Leary, and Rick Boyles, co-chairs, approve this message. Top contributors are BP Anchorage, Alaska, ConocoPhillips Anchorage, Alaska, and ExxonMobil Anchorage, Alaska.
Joe Miller, family man, decorated combat veteran, judge, conservative leader.
I'm running for U.S. Senate because I am a believer. I believe government should balance its budget just like our families do. That's why I support balancing the budget by law, so we stop Washington politicians from looting the Treasury. I believe in the rule of law. That's why I support the aggressive enforcement of Americans' immigration laws and why I oppose amnesty for illegal immigrants. It's also why Barack Obama should be impeached. I believe in life and liberty. That's why I'm endorsed by leading pro-life and pro-gun rights organizations. I believe in family. With 8 wonderful children and a loving wife, I want every Alaskan son and daughter to have their shot at the American dream. I'm Joe Miller, and I approve this message because we must restore the America we love.
Paid for and approved by Citizens for Joe Miller.
You're on with Fagan and Beagle on Hot Talk KOA.
2014, Box 100719, Anchorage, paid for this message.
Fagan and Beagle, weekday mornings from 6 to 9 a.m. on the Talk of the Valley, KVNT.
So good, so good, I got you.
13 ahead of 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Fagan, Beagle, and Bonnie in the morning. Our number 569-1080. 569-10. Are you eating?
No, not at the moment.
You were just a minute ago.
I'm not saying anymore.
357-5868. 357-5868. That's the number in the Valley, again in Anchorage. 569-1080. Well, Bonnie, my friend, what did you conclude from last night's debate? You feel like Joe Miller won, but I mean.
Actually, I think Meade Treadwell did do well.
You think?
But I don't see how that woman that called, what was her name, Elizabeth?
Yes.
I don't see how she can talk about him being more, conservative than Dan Sullivan. I mean, he made some stances last night that were not very conservative.
One line that Joe Miller did have, it didn't work because he didn't execute it very well. He's not an actor, and he's not really that good at articulating. He lacks the timing to be an effective comedian. Being funny is all about timing. But the line would have been really good if he'd executed it properly. He starts talking about how that Meade Treadwell is trying to be everything like him.
Yes.
And he said, I expected to show up tonight and see you have a beard.
I thought that was funny.
Did you hear that?
No. Well, I heard that, but yeah. What's the joke?
He said, you're
is
trying to be so much like me, I'm surprised you didn't show up with a beard.
Yeah. But he didn't execute it, you got to admit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was stumbling, bumbling all over it.
But Meade Treadwell entertained global warming. He talked about more federal money for Alaska, even though we're broke. I mean, that was a specific question from Rhonda McBride. Does Alaska come first? Or
Joe supported subsidies.
He did.
What do you think of that?
but he did specify under the Constitution, as long as it's constitutional.
You can spend money.
And then Meade Treadwell said yes to pre-existing conditions. He wants catastrophic coverage for everyone.
Yeah, that was leftist.
I mean, I don't see how that's more conservative than Dan Sullivan.
No, I am convinced that Meade Treadwell is not the Joe Miller clone he's trying to be. That's a speculation, but I'm pretty convinced of that.
I loved it when Joe Miller handed Dan Sullivan the amnesty pledge, and Dan Sullivan took it and just put it under the desk.
Well,
and
you have to realize, Bonnie, these are ploys.
I know.
You hand something to somebody else, they have
but
not read it.
But he says he's against. Oh, he's read it. He's read it.
Joe Miller's amnesty plan?
It says, I will oppose any attempt by Congress or the President to grant amnesty, any pathway to citizenship for illegal aliens. And Dan Sullivan would not sign it because he said it says what he's not going to do instead of what he's going to do.
Which is a great point.
But Joe Miller even has
a
plan for that.
I want Joe Miller supporters, and I consider myself to be on the fence basically for everybody. Of course, I've worked hard for Joe Miller in the past.
So you're equal in all three at this point.
I really don't know. I don't believe. Here's my view. I hope people vote for who they think can win. I hope they vote for the person who they think is the best representative of them. Here's my view. I don't think any of these guys are Lisa Murkowski.
No, they're not.
Okay, well,
clearly.
I believe each of them believes in limited government.
Sure.
I believe each of them is pro-life in some way. I don't have. Look, I'm trying to save the country. And I realize
appreciate you doing
Mark
that,
Begich and his Democrat band and Harry Reid and Barack Obama want a different country than I do in fundamental ways. And I am doing everything I can to fight against that.
We appreciate that.
And
Thank
what
you.
I'm looking for is I honestly don't care who people vote for in the primary. I'm not trying to change anybody's vote. I'm not trying to direct anybody. But we do have a huge task here to stop the Democrats because they're so unified. Their ideas are so corrosive to America, and their special interests are so doggone powerful. You look at trial lawyers and environmentalist lobby. I mean, these guys really do run America. You look at the EPA, and you look at how our healthcare system is run. You have to know the trial lawyers and the environmental community run the country much more than any conservative. So I'm just looking for anything which takes us back from the abyss, takes us back from the precipice. That's really all I want. So you asked me what my views are on these guys. They all qualify for my vote. Every single one of them, I believe, believes in limited government. Some place they have a spot of life in their heart. And so that's my view. And I look beyond that and I say, look, vote for the person who you want. But we've got to come together at some point.
We've got to stop voting for the people who we think are going to win, though. I'm sorry. I've just got to say that. If it truly is anybody but Begich, then any one of those guys should win. So why wouldn't we vote for the person that we stand with the most? Even you, Dan Fagan, have said that.
Because Joe Miller cannot beat Mark Begich.
But you would vote for him if he won the primary.
Well, of course I would.
So would everybody else. So why can't he win?
I'm not the typical voter, Bonnie. Are you
but
serious?
Most people are saying anybody but Begich. Everybody I know is saying anybody but Begich. Then I feel very strongly that Alaska is not as conservative as we think they are.
Fine.
So, like, we're voting yes on marijuana. We're voting yes on minimum wage.
You want to know what worries me, Bonnie? Because I think that people were fooled by Lisa Murkowski. They thought she was pro-life in some way. They thought she was limited government in some way. 63% of people in the last election for Senate voted for somebody who wasn't Joe Miller. Now, you have to honestly, and these are such hard things for us to do as conservatives because we really believe that there's a moral component to the limited government views that our founders had, right? And that by saying that the government's responsible for health care, and the government's responsible for taking care of your parents, and the government's responsible for feeding the hungry and taking care of the poor, that those are moral problems. If we turn that over to the government, we become a lesser country. So we have a much deeper tie to this, but you have to realize 63% of people voted against Joe Miller last time. Now, here's your and my hope in this, and I'm looking at Bonnie and everybody else. People did not, they voted based on fear, not based on hope, and not based on what our country should be, and not based on what our country is. but they voted based on fear, and that they do believe in limited government. Even though they voted for Lisa Murkowski, I hope they did that because they didn't know who she was. I'm not sure of that, though.
Or it's possible that they bought in to Tony Hopfinger's version of Joe Miller, which is not an accurate depiction of him.
Like he handcuffed reporters, like Joe Miller, like you keep repeating.
Yeah, I was
he
just
never
going to say,
handcuffed a reporter.
and Joe Miller's not running against Lisa Murkowski. He's running against Mark Begich, and there is such a big chasm there. Why wouldn't Joe Miller win?
Bringing her up. He brings her up every time. His question to the other candidates was, "Who did you know?" It wasn't this.
No,
that wasn't this time because I didn't see the debate. I just saw some of the reviews of it.
In fact, I don't remember him talking hardly at all about. I mean, I don't think.
Well,
he
that's
talked about
smart.
Lisa Murkowski
If he had started that from the very beginning, I think it'd be a much stronger candidate. And I don't think he's done, by the way, in the state of Alaska. I think Joe Miller's future is determined by if he loses this election, what it do. I think that in large measure will determine what his future will be.
If I keep seeing these polls with Dan Sullivan with a 17-point lead, which I think is accurate, I will probably end up voting for Joe Miller. And I'll tell you why. And it's a risky thing because you're playing with fire, but I love Joe Miller. I love his heart. I love his courage. I love his character. And I want to see him redeemed in public opinion in this state. I think he's a great man. But I'm not willing, my loyalty to him, I'm not going to waste my vote on him. There's no chance of beating Mark Begich. But if I know Dan Sullivan is blowing these other guys out of the water, then I may throw Joe Miller a vote just as a vote just to make him feel better about himself. That people will not look down at him as some fringe far right-wing nut job because he's not.
You should do it for our country.
He's risky, but it would have to be. I mean, if I see any poll that comes within 15 to 16 points where Sullivan's not up, I'm not going to because obviously a vote for Miller is a vote for Begich. So, but I like the guy. I love the guy. I think he's great. He's got a great heart. But so does Sullivan too, you know. I mean, I just like all three of these guys.
I agree. This is going to be, I think, a watershed election where people really have to look deep inside and figure out, and it relates to the libertarians that this point is directed.
Let me ask you a question about our friend.
About our friend who?
Bonnie Cameron.
Oh. I don't know that we're friends. Are we friends? Of course we're friends.
Let's say that Mark Begich, let's just say that Miller miraculously wins this primary.
Mm-hmm.
If he does it, it'd be like a vote. And then he goes up against Mark Begich and loses 65-30. Do you think that when we sit our friend Bonnie down November 5th and we ask her, Bonnie, do you now see why we didn't want Mr. Miller to win the primary? Do you think she'll actually face reality at that point?
I think that inside of herself, she will go, okay, I didn't know the people of the state of Alaska, and then publicly she will go, I voted for the person who I thought was best. That's what I think will happen. I think
conveniently,
she'll say no.
Conveniently, I will be in Hawaii on November 5th.
Okay, that worked out well.
That's good.
I'll be coming back here. I'll be here November 6th.
Well, you're taking the day off of Election Day?
I have to vote absentee.
But you're not going to be on the show before on the election day?
No.
She could call in. She could call in.
I think we should just do the show from Hawaii. Let's all go over there.
Hey, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Deal. Done.
All right, folks, that's it. We're done. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a great day. That's it. We're done. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a great day.
There's a place up ahead and I'm going just as fast as my feet can